3, testing.
Thanks so much for your time. My name is Lillian Muli and it's time for One-on-One. Use the hashtag One-on-One. Kindly start talking to us. I've got an incredible panel in studio this evening. All guys, by the way, you'll excuse me for that, but it will be a fascinating conversation nevertheless. Kenya's mainstream churches are going to great lengths to attract and retain young people. The youth is seemingly finding it difficult to relate to mainstream churches' conservative ways. They feel the church is irrelevant and does not address their needs, and they have lost the sense of belonging, hence the exodus. Either to boycott church altogether or to the emerging churches where they are made to feel at home. The big churches are now fighting back in a bid to win back the young souls. Tonight we are asking, is the Kenyan church going mainstream? My guest in studio, Pastor Gowi Odera. He is passionate about the youth and has played a key role in promoting and establishing youth ministry and the youth agenda in Kenya. He's also one of the founders of one of Nairobi's most vibrant youth and outreach ministries, Kubamba Crew, that's K Crew. And with us from K Crew is Moses Kimathi, popularly known as DJ Mose. He is also with us in studio. You know him from Kubamba. And of course with us in studio as well is veteran gospel artist Roy Smith Mwita, who goes by the stage name Raftone. He's also with us in studio. And also with us, I was with his wife just the other day, size 8, DJ Mo, the celebrity gospel DJ, also with us. And he will be talking to us about what is happening to the church essentially. So let me start with you, Pastor Gowi. I want to talk about whether the church is conforming to pressure. What's going on? People feel, and you know, the bulk of the messages that are coming in, people are feeling like the church is a hang, like the church is a fun place to be. Well, that's arguable. Are you guys bowing to pressure from the secular world?
No. Absolutely not. I don't think we are bowing to the pressure. I think what is being misunderstood is how the approach to how things are being there, how the message of hope is being shared to people. I would think, in my humble opinion, is that yes, the message still remains the same, that Jesus Christ is the hope of the world, that if you believe in him, you'll have eternal life. How it is being exercise, how it's being expressed, is now different, and that's what I think people are seeing. And so if you say we have moved to there, I'm sorry that that's how it looks, but I don't think we have moved away from that. I think there is a message that is going out. It's just the way it is being delivered that is changing.
The message, DJ Mose, I'm sorry, I'm just going to be, this more, I wish you guys weren't seated together.
Confused.
Yeah, so the message and the way it's being delivered. I mean, back in the day, were there even anything called gospel DJs? This is a thing of the 2000s, I believe. So how the message is being delivered. I know you guys do your outreach across Kenyan schools. You've got a hype man, you've got a DJ, the kids are there dancing all over the place. What are your thoughts on how the message is being delivered?
I think we're at the place where we have realized that, you know, the young population is, you know, they form the bulk of the population in Kenya. And it was a research that was done a few years back by Daystar University, I believe. And they came to, you know, the research, what it showed was, so it means that 16%.
Yeah. And this is the youth, or?
This is not just the church. Generally. You know, like the total population of Nairobi that goes to church is 16%. It means that 84% are not going to church. You know, how do we reach out to them? How do we communicate with them? You know, and it's by God's grace first, let me say, you know, that he allowed me to introduce the whole thing about DJing in the church. It was difficult. But, you know, I thank God for where he's allowed us to get to a place where, you know, young people are able to connect with what we are doing. We never compromise on the gospel of Jesus Christ, because, you know, that's what He's called us to do. You know, that's why we say representing Christ Jesus to the fullest. And it's important for us to wake up and to realize as a church, if we need to reach out to the young people, then we need to speak a language they understand. You know, we can't approach them in the traditional or traditional way of gospel music at that time. You know, I remember when I got saved, the gospel music at that time was like Maranatha. Do you even know Maranatha?
No, I don't. I don't. But DJ Mo, let me hear your thoughts. First of all, look at DJ Mo. He's your typical celebrity. Look at his hair. Look at the way he dresses. So this is. I mean, and a lot of people are actually reaching out to you on Twitter and saying you are my celebrity DJ. So people like you more than the message that you are trying to preach out there. Is that an unfair statement?
I think what you're doing here, content is the same, it's still the same. What you're trying to do is to change container. You're trying to tunatengeneza container, but the content is still the same. By this I mean, sometimes it's very hard. And sorry, leo nimevaa kasuti watu wangu. What you're trying to say is, for these guys to listen to you, you have to be relevant to them. Sometimes, nilikuwa naambia mse fulani, sometimes you can be so serious, and this guy hata kusikiza. The reason that's why I look the way I look, sometimes utakuta unaenda, you talk to someone about something, but the fact that unakaa kama yeye, unamwambia just come. The Bible says, come, we reason together. You see, we have to look the way they want us to look, for the sake of it. So we are just the containers, but the content still remains the same. So I think on my end, I have to be that person that when you're on a field, we can relate. So, and that's it.
Rafton, let me talk to you, you know, as the father of these upcoming artists, pretty much. Beef. What about, for instance, I'm sorry to quote, but I'm sorry to drop names, but what about Willie Paul and Bahati? What about this circus that we're seeing in social media with gospel artists and people actually now picking this and bloggers talking about it, as opposed to us appreciating the message in this music, appreciating these young men who are from very humble backgrounds and who have now turned to religion and are motivating so many young people? What about that? Where is that coming from?
Thank you, Lillian. And
is that actually intentional? Is it because you guys want us to talk about you guys?
Answer, and I'm happy and I'm glad that you quoted. You're quoting bloggers. You're quoting the paparazzi, due to lack of a better terminology. These are not official media outlets. So for me, I will not get into that. But now back to what Kenyans are claiming is the church trying too hard. For me, I say this is not a new story. It's been there since time immemorial. Even in the Bible itself, Jesus went through this, whereby I must quote this. You will see there was the synagogue, and then we had the Pharisees who were seated somewhere expecting people to come to them. But Jesus now introduced something else, where he would go on the roads. You remember John the Baptist going on to the desert and, you know, meeting the people. And even Jesus faced these challenges. He would heal people on the Sabbath. And the Pharisees will come and say, hey, Bana, this is not what is written in the Torah. So I'm not saying we are Christ, but we're just following in his roots. And by that I mean there's a notion of how people expect people should behave towards God and people should behave as a church. But there's what God is saying. What is God saying? If the youth are digital right now and you're a minister, you have to be digital. You have to, you know, handle them on the WhatsApp, Instagram, as long as the message and the concept is still the cross and Christ and how he died and is resurrected on the third day. So for me, why are people saying that we are changing is because we have things like System Rave, we have things like maybe Kubamba at the end of the year, done at the KICC. But you see, if we have church caches, we have people who can go there, but we have youths who want to just rave. Like I remember before I got born again, how did I even get saved? It's because there was a kesha at East in Buruburu. I was broke then. And let's not even get started on what happens in some of those keshes. It's okay. I'll tell you. Let me tell you why I was going for that kesha. I was going for that kesha to look for a lady, because we have beautiful, godly the church, and I was not born again. And I was not born again. Listen, that's the truth, Lillian, you know. And in the process, I got born again. So I say this: if we are to do things the informal way, as in we have to go the extra mile. I remember Kinamos, they're still in Metro, you know, spinning all those things. I must compliment my brother for the system rev and all that. So the devil will be everywhere. Even in heaven there's the devil. So even if there's something happening at the system rev or my gig or Goi's gig, that's the devil. He has to be there. But you should not now, you know, crucify the entire fraternity because of that.
We shouldn't crucify the entire fraternity. I want youth as opposed to the entire family unit, because traditionally when we go to church, we go my mom, my dad, and you know, we'll join them along the way if we don't want to ride in the same car with them. But are you focusing more on the church? And in particular, I want to talk about an explicit poster that trended for days and actually resulted in the coining of the word twerk kusifu as in twerking in church. And this was a church that was advertising, you know, that was basically trying to pull crowds into the church. Your response to that, just the explicit nature of some of the topics that are even put out there in you know, so as to attract these numbers to come, for instance, for a youth fellowship.
I'm going to be categorical on this. In defense to a poster like that, the intention was never to attract. The intention was actually to raise a concern. If you went to the content of that particular thing, if you were in that church and got to figure out what these people were saying, if you heard the content, I know the pastor of that church, I know the youth pastor in that church, and how they want to be able to begin to have the conversation on issues of sexuality.
Oh, there it is. Does it look very okay to you, Pastor Goi? Is that something that looks very churchy to you?
Once again, I want to say, if you're going to ask a question, how are you going to talk about the issues of sex to a generation that's sight and sound? And I think that's what the issue should be here. How are we going to be? We need to be able to be open and honest about the conversations that are happening, because the conversations are happening outside the church. The young people need to be able to talk about this, and we give them the grounding in that place. There are several wonderful young people who have benefited from the content of messages in churches around this country, because they are ministers of the gospel, artists who are willing to talk about those things that are not being talked about elsewhere. And I said,
but critics are also arguing, Pastor Goi, that you are also coming across as more of motivational speakers, as opposed to, you know, having a reference point, which is scripture. That at some point, I'll go to church because I identify with, say, Pastor Goi, because I just love the way Pastor Goi speaks, and it's more about life messages and more about your personal experiences, as opposed to what I said earlier, your reference point, which is scripture. Is that an unfair statement?
I think it's an unfair statement, because to one example that you give, I think there are many other faithful ministers of the gospel around this country that every day are concerned about the welfare of those who come to church, who speak truth into their life, who expose scripture for them, and who grow them. There are many. I'm not going to say that there are people who do not. And it's unfortunate. And I'd like to say to the viewers right there, to many who pastors have not been faithful to that, I'm sorry for that. But I think the issue here is there are many more ministers of the gospel around this country who are faithfully serving and are doing a wonderful, splendid job in their context, and lives are being transformed.
DJ Mo, take away the hype, take away the music, take away the decks, and I don't know, you there with your, what do you call them, those headphones? I don't know. Take away all that. Take away all that hype. Will the youth still come to church? Take away this packaging that is now so similar. Take away the end of year parties and concerts and what have you. Will the youth still be attracted to church today, in this day and age?
You know, it's a very interesting question that you ask. If we can say, when the music stops, what next? You know, if all the music stops, you know, and there's no hype, there's none of these things, I believe they'll still come to church, because people are still seeking and they have a hunger for God. However, in every generation, God raises up people to go and reach out to other people, so that they can bring men and women closer to Him. That's God's #1 agenda. You know, and if God decides, you know, let the music stop, the music will stop, you know, but God will have another way of bringing the people back to the church. So if he says today, guys, stop DJing, stop everything that you're doing, you know, that's what we will do. But I believe, you know, that he'll still show us a different way of reaching out to the young people. It could be through drama, you know, it could be through spoken word, you know, where we're not necessarily singing, but we're just speaking the words and, you know, communicating the truth of God. I believe with every generation, you know, right now, it's just music is the in thing, and that's what young people are listening to, but not just the young people.
Yeah, and I want to ask you an honest question, DJ Mo. Did you feel at some point like you were getting caught up in this whole celebrity culture where people now look at you more as a personality as opposed to what your calling was from the word go? I believe you had a calling and that's why you do what it is that you do.
Yes.
I might be wrong, but at some point, and be honest about it, at some point does the secular world find its way into what you guys do? Do you find yourself conflicted sometimes?
That's a very good question, but all I can say is that this is a big cake. To start with, Kenyamuza, this is a big cake, and what Goy does, he's the only person who can do that. What Mose does, what Rafton does, they're the only people who can do that. It's a big cake, and my part now, I chose to take the youth side of it because I felt that's where I belong. And by this I mean, from the way I took my brand, let me say, let me put it in my brand, because you see, from then, church used to be boring. According to the way
I like that you said that.
Yeah, church used to be boring. You know why? Not because it was kutendereza, it was the motaratara thing.
Kutendereza thing?
It's this, how do you call this?
I think how do you break this down?
Yeah, but you see, so many guys refused to go to church because they felt ni ya wazazi, ni ya budangu, ni ya mama, ni ya wazee.
Even I stopped going to church for that reason.
You see, so then I was like, now let me come to this side, use the music and also cater for these guys who are feeling church now say old. So I packaged everything according to venye nilifeel what I feel they are catered for. One main thing nilikuwa nafikiria is when I started DJing, yes, there is this point you feel because you are DJ and everyone looks up to you. You feel okay, celeb kama ingia na nini. But at the end of the day, I'm different from any other person, for better good word ni secular. Because as a minister of God, kuna venye you handle everything. When it comes to youth, there's a way you handle them. Yeah. You see.
Okay. Hold that thought, Pastor Goy, and then I'll come to you, Rafton. I want to talk about Sundays. Every Sunday, you almost get the sense that churches are clamoring for that hashtag. They want to be top of the trends on Sundays. I don't know whether that is intentional. I don't know whether, you know, it's in conforming to the digital times, or whether, you know, it's become, you know, commercial, just like every other business that's been run in this country. I want to trend. People generally want to trend. Kubamba trends, I believe, every Sunday. But nowadays, you almost get the sense that churches are clamoring to be at the top, top trending.
We are in a media world. I mean, the media and new media platforms have come, and if the church is not on those new media platforms, they are not going to connect with this generation. I have my own Twitter handle and I tweet. Okay, I tweet a lot, I comment on different issues and that. So if I am not on that platform, Lillian, then I'm not going to reach this this generation. And I think that's where the church should be able to do, bring the message to that particular platform. So we have our Instagram handles, we have our Twitter handles, we are on Facebook and stuff. And it's not a matter of competing. Okay, the fact that the three of us here, and as Mo put it, we're not competing, we're serving the same person. We each have our own calling and our own platform that God has given us. But I want to repeat, if we're not on these new media platforms that young people are, that this emerging generation are not, we will not reach them. That is where we are. So you need to be able to present the gospel on that particular, package it to fit on that particular platform. Same message, okay, but the container or what it is different.
And Rafton, back to you, the clamor for the youth again, because I think that's where the challenge is. I think that the grown-ups are going to church, but the youth have moved away. So the clamor for the youth and a flood of ministers or pastors who have never seen the gate of a, what is it called, a seminary or even a theology class, and the example that you guys are setting when you allow people to take the pulpit who have not been vetted? What's the vetting process like? Who is talking to these kids? Do we know who is talking to our kids? Do we know who is preaching to our kids when they go to these youth sermons and youth services and youth concerts, indeed?
Okay. Thank you for the question.
Because a lot of people call themselves
I know,
pastors.
and many parents are concerned about that too. But again, for me, I'll just go back to the Bible. And this is what the Bible says, that the gospel will be preached for different purposes. But at the end of the day, let it be preached and people will give account to that. And then maybe, I don't know which camera I'm addressing. This is the camera? Yeah, just to address the Kenyans out there. Back to the question that we had at the beginning. I would remind them that even Jesus Christ himself went through that. People are saying now the church is trying too hard to reach out to the masses. If the church keeps quiet, they call it inactive. When it's trying, it's called, hey bana, you're being too aggressive, bana, chill, stay within your lane. And I'll give two last examples. I remember Christ began his ministry in the synagogue, if I'm not wrong, when he was reading the Torah. And then after that, I don't remember, maybe you could correct me after that. I think after that, he never went back to this synagogue. You're seeing Christ going into, is it Zacchaeus' home, the tax collector, eating with him. You're seeing Christ going to the woman, the lady at the well. People don't understand what that means. It means you leave the appropriate place where you're supposed to be at, then you meet the people at their level. You go to the center, the heartbeat of their trouble, and then you resonate with them, and then you give them the message. That's what Christ did. And when he was at the Zacchaeus' place, when he was with the prostitutes, when he was with the woman at the well, the moment he would walk away, the masses will follow him, and he will give them the hope. He will save their lives. And then maybe to end, I would say the government of the day would always say, what is Christ after? He's after publicity. He wants to be a superstar. Does he want to topple the government? Even the Roman, kingdom thought maybe this is the guy who's, the rumors had it. That Christ was coming
now.
You understand? The bloggers were there. The bloggers were there.
So same scenario as what we're seeing on the map. Okay. And I want to play a clip. By the way, the hashtag is #1on1. And if you look at our Citizen TV Kenya page on Twitter, you'll find all my panelists' Twitter handles there. Kindly tell us your views, give us your views using the hashtag #1on1. I want to play this clip, and I want Rafton, Gowie, Moz, and Mo to look at this and tell me what they. A lot of parents are actually writing in and saying, seriously speaking, you guys need to chill. You're being a bit too aggressive, like he said. But then again, take a look at this. Tell me what you think about this. Talk to us at home as well.
Okay.
Here there's music and there's music they can identify with, then they're more open.
And it's an opportunity for us to take the gospel to guys who don't go to church.
Totally sold out. Been doing now for the last 4 years. We're into our 5th year now, and it's and many young people come for this event. They're talking about 15,000 teenagers or youth coming for this event to hear the gospel.
Ordinary people and achieving extraordinary results. Just last weekend we were at Chania, a boys' high school, and 72 boys gave their lives to Christ. The weekend before that, we were at Stanley interact with thousands of youth every day and address the issues they are facing. And so for us, I can tell you it's humbling, but challenging equally.
And then we're doing.
So what's the take home after all of that, DJ Moz? What's the take home?
Man, you've just taken me back, because those are clips were totally sold out volume 4.
When you had hair.
When I had hair. I'm asking, where is my hairbrush? Anyway,
I prefer this look, by the way. I'm just saying.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
But it's not about me, so go on.
I was going to say, the reason why God has raised us as, even the 4 guys that we are here in the studio, is to be able to reach out to the young people. We're not in competition with the church. Our desire actually is to reach out to the young people and bring them to the church so that the church can help disciple them and help them grow. When people say, are you guys going too mainstream? I'm like, I don't think we've even started. I think, we're still lagging behind. We need to go harder. We need to reach out to our brothers and sisters even more, because at the end of the day, we're not the only ones who are trying to reach out to them. The devil is also trying to reach out to the young people. I mean, one of the sad situations that we saw last year was, the kids being caught in the pubs, a day before they're supposed to report to school, like 500 are found in a club, doing all the nasty things. I wish that those young people were in the church, with their hands raised up and worshiping God, but that's not that's not the reality, So we need to go harder. We need to speak a language that these young people understand, so that at least we can draw them closer and closer to Jesus. Otherwise,
and I want to read out some of the comments that are coming in. Why is it so difficult for the youth to serve God by spreading the gospel without playing funny music? I don't know what he means by funny music. To the panel, we're not doing a favor to God by going to church. Even if human beings don't worship him, he can make plans worship him. Somebody here is saying most churches are becoming entertainment theaters. Instead of being a place where you meet your creator, no more holiness is observed, particularly for our youth. Most ministers are for numbers and not for a message of salvation. Such advert campaign for immorality instead of morality save our youth. So a lot of different reactions to this conversation. Pastor Goy, talk to us about what you've observed, across churches, and particularly with this message of reaching out to the youth. What are you not too happy about? Sincerely, I mean, from where you sit, what are you not too happy about as regards the approach?
Lillian, I'll be honest with you. I think I am not happy about the monetary message that is going out, where the health, wealth, blessing. That I'm not happy about that. I think it's a wrong message of what the gospel is, and I think there's a place that we as the church, and especially leaders like us, need to change that. Having said that, I think another thing that I would rather see much more is the church actually uniting with addressing a lot of the issues in that. As you see here, this is the new generation of church leadership. Okay. And Lillian, and I'll say this to people who are watching us, I mean, mpende musipende, this is how the new generation of church leaders are looking. That's what things are changing, okay? And so we need to be able to be true to our context, true to our time, and address the issues of our time. And I think that is what I'd like the new generation, upcoming leaders in the church who are younger than me, maybe I'm a bit older, but younger than this new generation of church leaders, to work much more. And I can tell you one thing that is happening. Amongst the younger leaders, church leaders, denominations are not big. They're not big. And so it's not necessarily which church you go for. I mean, these guys we all go to different churches, but I mean, there is a brotherhood, there is a camaraderie. Can I use another big word? Yes, yeah. There's a fellowship that goes on. And I think that's what the new generation of leaders in the church are doing. And I'd say what we need to do, and the challenge to the young emerging church leaders, is let's continue to unite and preach what is true, the gospel of Jesus Christ, because we are losing the hearts and soul of this country, and that's the young people. Okay, and as we begin to wind up, Raptone, and I know this has been discussed a lot of times, the content in our music. Once again, I'm going to talk about Willie Paul and Missy. You remember when he wrote that song and sort of talked about God as a woman, like just made references and made God, it was like a love song. The content in this music, the concerts, the dancing, I could go on and on. For you, who has been in this industry over the years, who is that gatekeeping? Where is the gatekeeping channel where these upcoming young artists actually have to adhere to standards? Because the message that, like Goy is saying, is similar. You're all referring to the same book, which is the Bible. But where is the gatekeeping channel? Is there one? Because the young upcoming artists seem to be just doing what they please, what they choose to do, what they think is right. Yeah, I must say this: there are people who are watching over the young musicians. And I'll be honest, I know Pastor Goy is one of the guys who's really concerned. All of us here, DJ Mo's, and they actually call, and even myself, we call the young artists and we tell them, there you tripped, but you know it's not too late. Do they listen? Do they have an attitude problem? I wouldn't want to get into details, but what I know is you call them, they come, and they listen, and then you see change. But what I wanted to emphasize also as we conclude, because I know very soon we'll have to end, I will challenge every Kenyan out there that on the last day you will stand before your God and you will answer. And you will answer, there will be no church to give an excuse. You won't say my pastor didn't do this, my church didn't do this. So I have a personal appeal to everyone. Guard your salvation with fear and trembling. But after saying that again, I would say on behalf of the church,
We know we've stepped on people that many people are meters. They say we don't come to church because of ABCD. If we've stepped on your should I say toes, we are apologizing. We are saying on the behalf of the church, we know we've not been 100%. We're not here to defend it 100%. We are sorry, but just know, have the zeal to know your God. Come over. There'll be mistakes, but on the last day we'll give account as an individual, not as a church, not as celebrities, not as DJ Mo. DJ Mo didn't play the song that I loved and all that.
Yeah.
So you think about that.
DJ Mo, for the people who watch you and for just perhaps, like I said before, love you more than the message that you're trying to preach out there. What is your ministry to them? What would you like them to know about what you guys are doing?
First of all, I would like to say is that church is not boring, guys. If you can serve through rap, kama kuna watu wana, if Devo can use tactic ya rap to win people, if I may say so, use the same thing to glorify God. If you can glorify God through painting, just do it. Church is not boring. Look at us. Unaona, come as you are. Unaona, kama una feel utashake with dreads, ndio Mungu asifike. Just do it. Remember in the Bible, David alidance nguo zikatoka.
Mimi nashake dreads zangu kwa roho bana.
If David alidance nguo zikatoka, he wasn't joking. He wasn't joking.
Unaikumbuka dreads za Mo alikuwa anafanya kama ile kitu ya Gladiator. We'll get to that.
Yeah. But, you know, somebody here is actually saying, Lillian, today you're being very unsupportive. I congratulate the panel. I'm not being unsupportive. I'm playing the devil's advocate. I'm doing what I'm asking the questions.
Yes, and we appreciate the right question. You're asking the right question. You're asking the right question.
So, DJ Mo, what is the way forward? The youth want to come to church. Some have the right agenda. Others come looking for chicks like Raston initially did. Some come because their parents will not let them go out at night. It's a Kesha and I'm 16 and I'm not allowed to go out. Some say they're going to Kesha because they want to go to the red light or to the Red Avenue in Westlands. So what is your message for the youth out there? How they are taking your ministry, which is very hype, it's very fun, it's a different approach. It's not the conservative and conventional way that church has been known traditionally to operate. Yeah.
What I'd like to say is, you know, as young people, it's very easy for us to want to go with the flow. And what I'd like to encourage you is there's only one life to live. You know, don't waste your life. When you tell your parents that you want to go to the church, you know, or you want to go for a kesha, you want to go to any one of our gigs, you know, just keep it real. Go for those events. You need to be very careful about how you live your life. You know, there's something that we've been talking around about in the high schools. You know, it's about believe, behave, become. You know, what you believe influences how you behave influences who you become. You know, and some of these things you start learning from a very young age, you know. So I'd like to encourage the young people and say, there's only one life to live. The best thing that you can do is, as a young person, live for God, live for Christ as a young person. And again, as DJ Mo said over here, is, you know, the church is not boring anymore. I mean, are you looking for hip-hop? It's in the church. Are you looking for dancehall?
And I must ask you this very briefly from each and every one of you. What about the guys who are saying, Kobiashara, these guys are doing this to get paid? DJ Mo, let me start with you. Let me start with you. Guys were like, no, yeah, sincerely, guys are like, no, you lost the plot. Now it's about the fame and the money.
I don't understand what Umanisha mean by that, but what if, let me say this. If I had a car, for instance, and then Mozana, just a random one, then I come and tell you, God can bless you. Then Moza kuja kwambia the same word, who would you believe?
Oh, I don't know. That's a tricky one.
No, I have a car. You kwambia God can bless you with a car.
Yeah.
Na Moza kwambia
Hannah, and he doesn't have. I'll believe you.
Why?
Because you have a car.
You see, sometimes blessings are God sizes in a car. People tend to wanafanya ni, for instance, sometimes there's update like my iPhone, my new iPhone. The same thing, a secular artist, I update the same thing. Then it happens to be, okay, we are on a flows. So all I'm trying to say is,
church on a flows.
So church on a flows. So what I'm trying to say is, sometimes see biashara. sometimes si biashara.
Testimony.
Even kitambo wale watu walikuwa na wako kwa church, they used to eat from the church.
Yeah. So it's your testimony, like going to about you who was running for a parliamentary seat.
Yes.
You wanted to go into politics. I don't know if you still intend to.
Yes.
But what about you, who people might have felt, you were using the pulpit to rule voters? That was your campaign platform right there.
But then you're doing a good job of doing a good job. No, but let me just put it to you. If you look it, I'm wondering what it means. If you understand what the salt and light of the world means, okay? I mean, if the church is not, if the Christians are not involved in the day-to-day life, how is hope and redemption going to be? And so, for me, I felt at that particular time and that particular season, I felt passionate about where our country was going, and I felt I could give leadership. Evidently, the voters didn't. Evidently, the voters were not.
Got my vote, man.
Thank you for voting. But nevertheless, okay, I think I brought a new conversation into the context, of what people could do. I think I've got a new platform where I can continue to speak into the issues of the leadership in this particular country as the church, and so that is a role that I continue to do. I wouldn't have been on this stage right here if there was something I was not particularly doing. And I think that is what we need to be able to recognize. We are the salt of the earth. We are the light of the world. If we are not in that context, okay, what transformation are we going to see in society?
Hashtag is one-on-one. Your final thoughts, Rafton. You are that guy who performed on Madaraka Day, Labor Day. Rafton don't say he's the guy who called for these gatekeepers. So what about the guys who are saying this guy is very strategic? When he did that song of Mungu Baba, he knew. And then he did that GST in the middle.
I was under the anointing, and the Lord revealed this to me. But I will tell you, you have to be relevant
to your context.
To your context. You understand? And I will tell you this. If you're a gospel artist, you're not supposed to be the guy uko nyuma, always crying and looking for pity. You're supposed to be the pioneer, the leader, that people should envy and ask for direction. So there's a notion, and that's what I want people to shun away from. We are the heads and not the tail. As he put it, what's wrong with him becoming a politician, even the president, in the years to come? That's what I want people to know, that Christ is not ashamed and he is an overcomer, and when he's in you, you take over the world and you become the number one thing. Even right now people are talking about this thing because the church matters in this nation. That's why the conversation is there, and it will not stop. And we're not saying there are no mistakes. We are saying we are apologetic, but still Christ will never be compromised by the noises people are making, and the church will always become number one, and you'll answer alone as an individual.
Okay, and finally, DJ Moz, I want to get your thoughts on, okay, so you have to pay your bills at the end of the day, but is that compromising your ministry? Are you getting super aggressive? Are you going out there doing your school outreaches because you're perhaps looking for a sponsor, or has that deviated you from your calling?
Absolutely not, and we've gone through such a difficult time, and my brothers here can testify where, we've done this without money, and we don't ask for any money from the schools. We love going to the schools and reaching out to them. And, if someone comes and offers me money and I have an opportunity to go and do outreach, I can tell you for sure, most likely I will lean towards going to do the outreach, because that's my number one part, that's my number one calling. And so, money is good, but really doesn't influence my, the decisions that I make, because, I go to a place where through the hardship that I went through in life, God just reminded me, man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And I've seen God's faithfulness over my life. I've seen his provision. It doesn't mean that it's been easy, but what he's taken me through has taught me to be the man that I am today. And I'm not saying this trying to be churchy, it's just who I am, and it's who God has allowed me to be. Can I just say one last thing? My life, or who we choose to be, is about culture, the culture of the unashamed. Romans 1:16, we are not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, because in that gospel is the power of salvation for everyone who believes.
Okay, well said. I'm sitting with men of God. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Please keep the conversation going. There's so much to talk about. But you've heard it from the men of God themselves. I believe you're convinced. And Baba Ladasha, thank you so much for coming. DJ Mo, this is
You never thought Baba Ladasha.
I am telling you.
This is Size 8's husband.
husband.
You know, guys came and told me this lady I met was like, thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you did. You know, how is Size 8 doing? I just want to say that she's doing fine.
But the second born, I was told, that Mzungu looks nice. Congratulations.
You guys. So this is DJ Mo and this is DJ Moz. That's what I was saying, you know, it gets a bit confusing. So now you can tell them apart. This is the guy who is married to Size 8, and this other guy is the guy who Willie Paul says DJ Moz Alioa Mzungu.
And by the way, her name is Deborah.
Yes.
Deborah Kimati.
Wonderful lady.
She's my hero.
Yes.
You know, because I'm her hero.
Yeah.
You know, maybe nakucheki.
Hapo hujatuangusha bro.
Asante sana. Asante sana.
And thank you very much, Pastor Goey, for coming.
Yes.
Seriously, no pan. I mean, you're an opinion shaper. We respect you and we thank you for the good work you're doing for this country. And of course, Raston, the godfather of all the upcoming.
If I may say something before I go. Hey, Kwanza Muluya, I must say to my beautiful wife and my beautiful daughter. Natuma salams, yani. Can you see as a big of my photo? But lastly, now that you're saying, we are number one, now I'll seize this moment. We're doing something for the family. I'm learning from you. On the 24th of April, we are doing a family fun day. All these people will be there. So you come. As Christians, we are going to be doing this thing at the KICC. It's a family fun fair. It's called Pure Praise Family Show. I had to seize the moment.
Okay, thanks for that.
And Lilian Sadaka tafadhali.
Well, the gentleman here is saying church is not boring. Make your way to church on Sunday.
Yes.
And God bless. Thanks for watching. Good night. Hashtag is 111.